Okay, you're on.
Okay, shalom, shalom, Lawama, namaste, and how you doing there, my friends here? We're at TelArad, and you guys have seen me out there in video land or digital land, whatever movie land, talking about this place and the significance of this place. And I just have to be sitting here at this point with a historical relic. One of the relics of the place, and this is a relic. I mean relic. I mean on a historical level that almost just supersedes what I'm doing here. So I want the brother to introduce himself there. But introduce yourself. What is your name?
My name is Cameron Campbell.
And Cameron, could you just tell? We got our brother, Gabriel behind the camera there, just to introduce us, to bring the brother in there, because he's here doing an article on the place here, and so we're gonna be going up with him and showing him around and giving. He's been here before, but he's gonna put this video up online for you guys now, but this is the man we're focusing on right now. Could you tell us the story of, give us a brief history of why you're such a historical figure here and what you're doing here right now? And, just tell us about your father, the great man, So tell us about, your connection to this place.
My father's name is Jack Campbell, and we came to Israel in 1968. Shortly after the Six-Day War in 67, my parents decided that this is where they wanted to raise their children. And so in early 68, they brought their 4 boys at the time and came to Israel with no real plan as to what they were going to do once they got here. After about 6 months, we moved to Arad, and at the time Arad was a very small development town, and we settled in Arad. And then probably about a year later, my father had the opportunity to get involved in restoration work at Masada. That was the start for him in restoration work here in Israel. He had done restoration of colonial buildings in the United States, but this was his first step into real archaeological restoration work here in Israel. And so he started working at Masada. Through that work, met a number of the professors that were involved in archaeological digs around Israel, and the 2 professors who at the time were digging here at TelArad, Professor Aharoni, who was digging up at the fortress up top, and Professor Ruth Amaran, who was digging down in the Canaanite city. They both sat down with my father and wanted him to come and work on the restoration of TelArad. So that project started for us in 1973 or 74. The digs actually took place in the late 60s, in the middle to late 60s. And the restoration started in 73 or 74. We spent a little over 2 years here on the restoration. And the restoration project, it was my father. There was a crew of Bedouin that were helping him. And then every holiday, the summer vacations, he would bring the 4 boys, and we were all here working with him on the restoration. Primarily, we worked up in the fortress, but the brothers also were involved in the restoration down here in the Canaanite city as well. So we spent 2 years, a little over 2 years, on the restoration work here. It was at the time there was nothing here. There was no water, there was no electricity, there was no road. Access to the site was a path from the Arad Beersheba road.
Wow.
And so we brought everything with us every day.
And you say Arad was just a developing the town, or?
Arad was a development town. When we moved to Arad in 68, there were 500 residents in town. It's now a city of 28. At the time, there were only 500 people here. So there was very, there wasn't a lot here before that. Not that this is a highly developed area now, but at the time it was even less so.
America, right? Because we're from America, right?
At the time it was even less so.
Now your father, he has a unique way of rejuvenating or bringing back the ancient ruins. So share that with us.
Well, when he got involved in restoration work, he saw that all of the restoration that had been taking place in the country was being done with cement. So when they would restore or build from the old what the archaeologists had uncovered and wanted to restore it. So and the idea behind restoration is not to bring it to full size, but to bring it to a point where people can see and get a feel for what was here. Archaeologists look at a pile of stones that's 8-12 inches high and know that was at one time a wall that stood 7 feet, but the average person, the average visitor, doesn't get that feeling when they look at this,
pile of stones.
Yeah, 8-inch wall. They don't get the feeling that this at one point was 7 feet or so. And so the idea behind restoration is to build on top of, what was uncovered, and to give perspective, if you will, to the site. So at the time, as I say, they were using cement in order to do that work. Part of the problem with using cement in our dry, arid climate is that over time, with the wind and what moisture we do have, stone, and this is a very soft sandstone, starts to deteriorate, and as it does, it separates from the concrete. And when it separates from the concrete, there's no way for the concrete to re-adhere to the stone. And so the wall becomes brittle and will fall and will collapse. And so, or in order to repair it, you actually have to take the wall down and then rebuild from fresh. My dad's theory was that what had been uncovered had stood for thousands of years. Why change what works? And so his theory was, we will go back and we will restore, but we will do it using the dirt,
ancient materials
that was found here. We'll use some lime, and we'll use straw, which was also abundant, which was also here. And so that was the mixture, and we would every morning, faithfully, we would fill up this big tub with dirt and some lime and some straw and water, and we would mix mud.
Wow.
And that mud is what was used to do the restoration work. Now the properties of it allow it to re-adhere to the stone. So even though it will dry and it will crack, but when there is moisture in the wintertime or early morning, there's a nice dew that forms early morning sometimes. That will allow that mud to become pliable and re-adhere to the stone. And so there's no deterioration over time to the degree that you would have with cement. It's much less, and so now it does require preservation. You do have to go back and you have to just like the ancient people did, just like they did thousands of years ago. But what we don't have to do is tear the wall down and rebuild it in order for it to be structurally sound. It can be done on site, it can be done with the wall intact, and it's just a question of touch-up and preservation as opposed to rebuilding. And so that was the theory. This was the first place that we put that theory to work. It was here at TelArad. This was at the time the largest restoration project that had been going on, simply because of the size of the fortress and rebuilding those walls. And then when you go up, you can take a look and see where the line is as to what was uncovered by the archaeologists and everything that we rebuilt on top of it. When you look at it, also, it's kind of neat to take into consideration that not only were we using the ancient methods with regard to using mud and straw for the construction, but we also there was no tractor, no crane, nothing like that. We used a tripod and pulleys and ropes in order to get the stone from the ground up onto the wall.
So when you were restoring it, you were actually doing it also the way the ancient people actually built it, using the same material.
To a large degree, that's correct. Among the boys, we also like to joke that it was built originally with slave labor and it was rebuilt with slave labor. But that's it's just It's part of for us as a family. It's part of what makes TelArad so special, is because we were all involved in this here, and there's a lot of sweat equity, if you will, in the site. We happen to believe that it is a very important site, not only from an archaeological perspective, but also because it is the only
House of Yahweh.
House of Yahweh that has been found in Israel.